Vaynerchuk.
GaryVee.
GaryVee.
I was lemonade stands, baseball cards, real hustler kid. Heard the internet, heard that sound, cooch, knew that it was special.
He revolutionized his father's wine business
To an internet phenomenon doing
$50 million a year powerhouse.
5-time New York Times best-selling author.
The 49-year-old has built an empire which includes a lifestyle brand, a sports agency, and a digital ad agency, VaynerMedia.
What does VaynerMedia do?
We're modern day Mad Men. We're producing videos and pictures. We're running media dollars for the biggest brands in the world.
Nobody I know, Gary, has seized YouTube, social media in this country like you.
Gary, I tell you what, you are a marketing genius.
You have to make your actions map your ambitions. Yo. Hi. Thank you. Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for having me. It's funny, I was just sitting, seeing that video for the millionth time, and I was thinking, this is gonna be a speech that I'm excited to look back on in 5 to 7 years. I think that brings me to my first kind of statement, which is, I guess, congratulations. I think it's really interesting when I look back at that video. I launched the e-commerce website in 1997. It was one of the first 3 to 4 e-commerce wine retail sites in America. And where I was in my life matched up with technology making a big change in our society. I was in a place where I was about to go full-time into my family liquor store business, and I was born in the Soviet Union, grew up in New York and New Jersey. Really dreamed since I was about 14 to have a big impact on my dad's liquor store. Was very grateful and continue to be very grateful for having great parents. And basically at 18, 19, 20, I was obsessed with helping them. And what I thought at 18, 19, and 20 was that meant that I was gonna build the Toys R Us of wine, as I called it, which was I planned on, for 7, 8 years I studied Walmart and Target and 7-Eleven. I really thought my destiny was going to be to open up 100 or 200 physical wine superstores around the country, and that's how I was gonna do it. And then, I walked into a dorm room in college and heard cooch, and for the kids in the room that don't know what that is, that was dial-up internet. And really that afternoon, I knew my life had changed, truly. I didn't know how, but I literally, and this is really gonna be funny for the kids, the internet was so crazy in 94, 95 that I literally stood behind somebody on a desk on the internet and watched people take 1-hour turns to be on the internet, and we would watch them be on the internet. And I literally stood there that first night, starting at 9 p.m., and at 1 in the morning, it was my turn. And I got on the internet, and in about 5 minutes, I found a bulletin board selling baseball cards. And I just, my commerce and entrepreneurial DNA took over, and I just kind of never was, quote unquote, the same. And there's been different, smaller versions of that throughout my career when I realized that email was free and I could send sales material through it, or when Google AdWords came out, that was an unbelievably big moment in my career. And then when I saw YouTube and MySpace and Facebook and blah, blah, blah. I was at a Raiders-Rams football game in LA on a business meeting, and the game ended, and I'm walking back to the car a couple years ago, and my brother calls me, and I had never heard that tone in his voice, and he had just played with ChatGPT, and obviously being an early stage investor, whether it's been blockchain or crypto or AI, or even currently as I sit here today with you, thinking about what's about to happen with AR and VR, as I truly believe the glasses will become the primary device over the phone a decade from today. And what will that mean? And all of a sudden, what does that all mean to the apps? And what does it mean to the space I see here and to society? I like spending a lot of time thinking about tomorrow, but I don't like wasting my time on tomorrow, which is what I think a lot of people make a mistake about. And I definitely don't like being excited about yesterday. We all sit here today in this room right now in a pretty unbelievable moment. I was fortunate that I was in retail when the internet thing happened, that was one of the sectors you could really do something with early, right? It would be a long time before the internet would impact dating or Uber this or other sectors, but not lost on anyone here is Amazon and eBay were two of the biggest winners of the late 90s in Internet 1.0. I wish you had cameras that were strong enough, maybe the front row can confirm this. I'm literally getting goosebumps right now because I genuinely believe, this is why I said yes to this talk. I genuinely believe that anyone who is in customer service and customer experience in this exact second is uncomfortably fortunate, has found themselves in a sector and industry that is potentially first, very clearly one of the industries that is going to move first, hardest, fastest in integrating AI. Out of all the things in the world that one could be doing for a living right now, this is one of the most meaningful sectors that will most taste the impact of this extraordinary technology. I have no clue if you're thrilled you're in this business or you really wish you were a fucking doctor right now. I have no idea how you got into this room tonight, but I can promise you, I feel confident when I say this, you will look back at this moment with either phenomenal joy of the serendipity or with regret that you did not squeeze the opportunity harder. I say that because knowing the makeup of this room, there's a lot of people here who are already in it. You know, like for a lot of you, you're in it. You wouldn't be at this conference if you're not in it or like on the cusp of being in it. But the reality is, I think you all know this, the term is out there, the technology is out there, people are flirting, people are demonizing, people are scared, rightfully so, I understand. You should read the articles that were written when the tractor was invented and 85% of society worked on farms. But this is, you know, when I thought about this talk, and by the way, I'm gonna do some Q&A, so I'll talk a bunch, but it was very gracious, they're gonna do some Q&A, so keep in mind if anything pops up, you can ask me a left field question. Happy to tell you what wine goes with fish, whatever you're interested in. But you find yourself in an industry that has already been affected, clearly has been affected. It makes me think about a couple things. I was really a merchant and a salesman who really dedicated his life to really becoming educated about wine. And that was great, and I really helped my dad build a big business. But I was a wine connoisseur and a merchant, but that technology came along and I committed myself to that technology, and that allowed me to really ride that wave to create unparalleled opportunities in my life that had the internet not come along would have been different. I kind of feel, as I was driving here, that there's a lot of people sitting in this audience that are in the same place I was at that moment, which is, I'm curious if people understand in this room how big of an advantage you have within your organizations and within society at large if you actually take knowing how to use these tools more seriously. The fact that this is fully integrated already into your actual day-to-day is a pretty big deal. Just, you know, I have for context, currently I'm the CEO of a almost 3,000 person global holding company agency firm that works with pretty much Fortune 500s, but we got some in the Fortune 5,000. I do a lot of investing, and so I work with a lot of late stage $50 to $250 million revenue businesses. I try to pay attention to culture quite a bit, so I feel comfortable in this sentence. Most people that work at companies are still debating the concept of this. You know, figuring it out, flirting with it, fearing it. It's still in the muckery. It's still in the haziness. It's still in the gray. Probably right this second, a lot of people are having their big 2026, how are we gonna integrate AI into our business meetings right this second, and you're all already running. And I remind all of you that in business, like sports, speed is a big advantage. And so the biggest thing on my mind coming in here today is this isn't like my normal talks or podcasts that I have to do right now where I have to convince people like, you better stop fucking around, this is here, right? You know that. This is a very weird one that I was excited about, which is, are you squeezing this opportunity hard enough? Do you realize the serendipity of your career put you in a place where you can understand this stuff more? And more importantly, do people in this organization know that the customer service CX leaders in this room actually could become one of the loudest voices within the organization alongside a CTO or CIO around the effectiveness or the realities of these tools, because you're coming from a place of practitionership and practicality, not academia and thesis. Understand? Let's clap it up for each other on that. Like, there's a reason I asked for that clap. I need to like reset everyone here in a very, like, I'm gonna break it down nice and slow one more time for the kids in the back. There are very few individuals within organizations that are actually already at the forefront of this being implemented and they can place and taste it. This is a substantial advantage for all of you, and not knowing one's ambition in this room, you look back to the history of time. Let me give you a historical comp. In the 80s, when home computers and you had developers, if I sat here and this was 1985 and you were all coders, I could say things like, I believe in 40 years, some of you could end up being the CEOs of the biggest companies in the world. That wasn't obvious then. An internet developer didn't, or a computer developer didn't go to the CEO suite. But over time, it became so important that became real. I personally believe, oh, there it is. The second book I ever wrote. This is actually a good visual, if you bear with me. The first book I wrote in my life, Crush It, I wrote in 2008. I basically said that you could make money on the internet, on YouTube and Facebook. I basically talked about being a creator or influencer. The first 50 reviews on Amazon, I got 1 star and everyone said I was a snake oil salesman because nobody would ever make $100,000 a year on YouTube. That book changed my life because it was really the book that went most viral in the culture around the concept of internet personal brand, where it all was. It came out in 2009. A lot of you know this. It wasn't on everyone's radar. Now it seems like it is the conversation. But the second book, out of all the things I could have ever written about in my life, the second book I ever wrote on the back of a massive New York Times bestselling book with a lot of pressure on me and a lot of opportunity on me, the second book I ever wrote was The Thank You Economy. Basically, The Thank You Economy is a book, if you've ever skimmed it, or if you want to AI the summary of it. I have a funny feeling that the AI and the LLM would come back and say, basically, it talks about humanity in business. It talks about scaling the unscalable. It was a story basically based on the fact that I believed, there was a quote in there that I used a lot on stage back then, which said, the more we become like the Jetsons, my belief is those who act like the Flintstones will win. And to break that down for the kids that have no idea what the fuck those two cartoons are, in the 70s and 80s, 60s, there was 2 cartoons that were quite popular. One was in outer space and one was prehistoric. And my belief was in 2011 that technology would do what it's done. It would commoditize much. It would commoditize much. But it was the humans that knew how to be the most human that would actually win by weaponizing or understanding those tools. Now, I had heard of AI concepts back then, but that's not really what I was alluding to. It was more that I was alluding to, if you treated Twitter and Facebook and Instagram not to just post stuff with the hope that you get something, but you get into the comments and the DMs and you actually care about people and you listen to what they say and you actually engage with them, you could win. I can tell you that the only reason I have personal brand and I am known is because from 2007 to 2011, I literally spent 7 to 11 hours a day replying to every person on Twitter that ever engaged with me and or even referenced anything about wine. As you can imagine, thinking back that took me 5 years of my life, where I now can have an AI agent do that for me, is interesting to think about. But I think the point is taken. I'm sure it's not lost on all of you. Everything that you know right now is going to become standard. The point I was making with the engineer in 1985 is the point I'm making with all of you. I genuinely believe a CX, customer service, mindset human within an organization that does $5 to $500 million in revenue, that is being very thoughtful of how to get very smart about everything to do with AI, because they are in the serendipitous position to be interacting with it in real life, not in decks and theory, have the biggest upside professionally in a lot of organizations over the next 25 years. And so I come here today out of joy, and really my belief, and I could be wrong, you might all, maybe I'm naive. My belief is I do not believe that this audience understands the upside in front of them, and I was interested in coming and telling you that it is. That's what I have to say, all right? Now, what do we do about that? What does that mean? Couple things. I think it starts with execution. I think the biggest thing I'm actually asking, and the biggest thing that I would implore all of you to do, not knowing how senior some of you are or where you are in the organization, you must become a practitioner of these tools. This is very important. This cannot be where you are the architect and everybody knows it in detail. For example, back to a comp, in my social media world, I still write the copy for every post I post on Instagram. Everybody 1/100th of the size of my audience has outsourced that to their intern, to their this, to their that. I implore you, the luxury of having the ability to have your hands on the steering wheel of these tools right now is one of the great opportunities of your career. This is really pretty historically true over the last 30, 40 years of technology. It is the ones that are practitioners and understand the tools and the craft that win every growth opportunity in front. This one's so intimidating, and you know this. Many of you started off, many of you, the second you heard about this for your thing, got scared it was gonna fuck you up. You know that people are hesitant to this thing. People are concerned. CFOs like it. But a lot of other people are quite concerned about it. And I think you take that as an advantage. What I mean by that is, of course you should inspire, especially if you have teams, they have to do their thing. But I think in practicality, this is the time to really get deep on these tools. If you're using this tool or other tools, this is not something you should know on paper. This is something you should know deeply. Because that knowledge shows up to the next thing I want you to do. My hope is that over the next 6 to 18 months, you get deep enough that you actually understand it. You understand the logic of how it works. You understand how to maximize it. I'm sure not lost on any of you, including the incumbent tools that you grew up with or the old ones. Tools are only as good as the mechanic using them, right? The ROI of a basketball for LeBron James is billions of dollars. The ROI of basketball for me is 2 torn meniscuses and probably a negative $50,000. This tool doesn't do the work for you, you do the work. In fact, even at hyperscale in a decade with AI, this is gonna be the game. Now, it's gonna get consolidated, there's gonna be a lot of things, and you're gonna have to be better and all these things. But ironically, I actually think the spirit of this industry is the winning spirit of the day. As we become more AI'd out and more teched out and more VR'd out and all that, it is the people that are most human that will win. And I think we need to think about that, and so I implore you, one, to not be in your ivory tower if you have that senior of a position, to not be a manager of. This is 100% the time to get your hands dirty. Humility is often the gateway to success and happiness. This would be a really good time to be professionally humble and get your hands very dirty on every AI tool you possibly can. Here's why. The next thing happens. My belief is the way this is going to play out is there's going to be the tech energy in companies around this, but then there's going to be the consumer, the B2B, the humanity part of it all. And I believe the people that have the most experience with it have the potential to have the biggest voices in the room in it. Obviously, I'm not aware of how all your organizations work, and I do not know how open your organization is to having you contribute to a conversation that might not be in your department or in your lane. However, thank God, when there's times of change, oftentimes of fear and innovation, things open up a little bit more than they used to. And again, I believe it is your advantage of knowing how to use these tools or have been in it that allows you to start voicing that and bringing that to the table. Both on very selfish career growth within what you do, but also very honestly, I'm sure it's not lost on anybody. By the way, this room is beautiful. I'm sure it's not lost on any of you. This is about life now too. Like everyone's life is gonna be completely engulfed by this technology. This technology sits in the Mount Rushmore of human innovations. This is electricity. This is like when the plane was invented. Like this is going to change the calculus in a very substantial way. So I think that is a very, very big deal. And then I would tell you what probably comes natural to a lot of you, if you love what you're doing in this room, it's almost like do not play in the middle. We just spent a lot of time on like go all in, get dirty, and then all the way over here, start strategizing, start playing in your minds that these tools and this reality is fully real. So what do you do with your time then? One thing I'm just spending a lot more time on is going back to the thank you economy and thinking a lot about what do you do to make depth happen in a world where width is going to a scale we've never seen before. In fact, when I put my investor's hat on, the companies I'm investing in are like restaurants and concert companies, and like I literally am about to help someone start a business that charges people to take walks with other people. Like literally paying someone $50 to take a walk with you around the block. And I have a funny feeling when I say that, as you can imagine, like when bottled water came out, can you imagine how that landed? Someone's like, I'm gonna sell bottled water. They were like, it's free. And then it became. I think if I was here 10 years ago and said, I'm gonna start a company that charges people to take a walk with another human, it wouldn't have landed. But I think we all know the world is getting far more digital, loneliness on the rise. It's not like so crazy that could be. Whether it is or not, I do not know. It's a hypothesis, a curiosity. But I think that little side thing that's going on over there really matters here. I think about what do we do? Because I think in CX and customer service pretty much every moment of my life, hence why I wrote that book. What do we do? What do our departments do? We can have such meaningful impact with our human part while the AI part continues to grow. And I think that's where I get really excited. That's what I was hoping to kind of accomplish here. I'm like, man, if I could get some of the people in the room to realize you gotta go really hard on both opposites, become psycho expert on AI, and then become remarkably good at understanding what becomes double offense on human capabilities that are not replicatable in the next 5 years in an AI world. Now you're talking about a department that I think can make significant impact. So look, I mean, this is stuff that I'm so excited about. I'm excited for all of you to be at it. I think you should really, really go hard at it in both places that I'm going. And I think most of all, I'm very grateful because I was super well parented and got very fortunate in a lot of ways that I've been able to take advantage of big technology shifts over the last 25 years pretty well as an entrepreneur, but I will be incredibly transparent here. And by the way, I'm probably gonna go to Q&A soon, so I don't know how you're planning on doing the runners on each side, so we should get that going, but thank you. But I stand here today, and if I'm being incredibly honest with myself, I've done a really nice job squeezing Web 1.0, Web 2.0, crypto. I bought Bitcoin in 2014, but I bought $4,000 worth, and I could have bought $400,000 worth. Even for someone like me where it comes natural to live around corners, to be fully high risk, to do all that stuff, I myself have not squeezed every moment of when I saw it first or best hard enough. And every time 5 years later, I'm like, damn, why didn't I make more TikToks in 2018? You know, damn, why didn't I continue my podcast in 2014, 15, 16? Because it would, like, there's unbelievable amounts of me stopping short because I was too early or not squeezing hard enough because I didn't let it play fully out. I will tell you that all of you in this theater find yourself in the perfect spot. You really do. You're already using it. You're already in it. And I could not recommend more you not live with regret and let this moment pass. You're in the right spot, squeeze it, take advantage of it, and I hope that makes someone go harder. Thank you. I wanted to leave, where's the Q&A infrastructure? What do we have? We're coming? Yeah. I wanted to go macro because what I just shared with you, I genuinely believe is the punchline, right? The two edges, go all in on both. This is the opportunity. Understand how that gives you leverage. Start to be a communicator of what you know in your personal, professional life, your side hustle within the organization. That is the big punchline here. But I wanted to do Q&A because I'm incredibly comfortable going in the weeds on anything that anybody here has within this genre or ecosystem. So that's why I wanted to do it. So yeah, I think raise your hands or stand up and we'll get rocking and rolling. Thank you for having me. Yep, we'll go here first. We'll go in the back second. Go ahead, ma'am.
Okay.
Let's see.
Hello, hello.
Yep. What's your name?
Tara Yazdi, thank you so much for being here. Not to fangirl, I'm a huge fangirl. Everything you said is so relatable. I have a question from like your experience as just being an investor.
Yes.
If you are starting a company today and you don't have any customers yet, so customer experience is like not relevant, where do you think is the most important area to focus, like taking advantage of AI today?
So just in general,
Yeah.
do you have the business? Are you building the business? Are you debating the business?
The business is being built. It's direct to consumer.
It's a direct-to-consumer brand?
It's an app.
It's an app. So, I think, look, for me, for example, the number one thing I use AI for by a country mile is to think with me. So if I'm you, you're trying to figure out what's about to happen.
Yep.
And that could literally be hiring your number two. It could be literally how to get awareness in the App Store. It could be how to fundamentally get a arbitrage with influencer cosigns, how to get, personal brand investors to get involved. There could be so many things. So for example, when I prompt only in voice. Let me rephrase. I prompt 90, 80% of the time if it's important to me in voice because I am a much better communicator in voice than I can write. I did a 39-minute prompt yesterday. I'm serious. Because it's so crazy. In just 6 months, I've gone from using it. I'm sure all of you felt this in the last 3-4 years, 2 years, whatever it's been for you. At first, you're like, oh, I'm gonna treat this like Google search, right? We had to go through that. You had to go learn that this is not search. Then I went into more basic, and now I'm just ChatGPT is my friend. Perplexity, Gemini are my homies. They're my thinking partners. I do strategy. So for me, it's literally talking like you talk. A 3.5 minute, as if you know who I am, and as if we were having coffee, you for 1 minute and 47 seconds ask that question. It's sad for me that their answer is gonna be pretty fucking good.
Yeah.
This is real life. So I think you have to think through, you have to get unbelievably curious and unbelievably detailed and unbelievably human to get the answers. That's how I would use it. I think it's the thinking. All the other shit you can make your deck in it in 1 second. You can build your fucking app in it in vibe coding. I mean, we're in such a crazy time, but I think it's the thinking. The winners are gonna be the most creative and the smartest, not the people that know how to press the fucking buttons. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yes. Hi.
Hey there, I'm Erica.
Hi, Erica.
Thanks for being here.
Thanks for
So as AI evolves and we're all excited and doing all the things, what are some tips that you have for ensuring job security? Because I work with I work with Finn, I program Finn, but eventually there will be nothing else that I can do for it. So what are some things that I can do to ensure that I still have a job in the next 3 to 5 years?
So it's the most fun question. So a couple things. I think the most practical answer was what I ended with. I think you need to be great at Finn and everything else, because that knowledge of how to be a good mechanic will matter. Next, on the other side, you need to decide, there used to not be CX. It was just customer service. Then it became customer experience. I see some shaking heads. They lived it, they know the history. My friends, humanity and human shit is about to become uncomfortably valuable. So, Eric, I need everyone to go into their spirit way more than into their tactics. So if, like for example, let's talk about my company. In my 3,000 person company, our head of HR is called our Chief Heart Officer. I made that up because I came from small business family land and entrepreneur land, and when I got into corporate land, I thought HR was the homies. I swear to God, I am who I am. Like I was a bad student. I was in my own bubble. I didn't know a lot about the world. I was in my shit. And so when I got to corporate only 15 years ago, I thought everybody loved the HR department because they were the friends. Then I was like, oh fuck, the HR department is the KGB of the CFO. So as we were getting bigger, when we had 100 employees, I was just fucking Santa Claus and grandpa. It was all good, but I was like, fuck, we're about to get big and we're gonna go into HR and everyone's gonna think it's bad. I gotta break the brand. I'm like, fuck HR, we call it people and experience team, the pet team, and the head of it is the Chief Heart Officer. I spoke to her the other day. I want her to use, and the company use AI to make sure we're keeping up on people's birthdays and all these things, right? But literally, I spoke to her yesterday. I was like, I want you to have breakfast, brunch, lunch, dinner, drinks. I want you to be with humans at scale. I don't care about anything else. All the operations stuff is going to get commoditized. I need you to be a human. I think a lot of people here got into something like this because of this. And then you get into it and you're doing a lot of this. I think a lot of you are going to find yourselves being able to be back into this. I actually think a lot of you, this industry, is actually going to get into an incredibly good place, a very happy place. And so, like I said, Erica, get gnarly good at Finn and everything else too, and then start thinking about things you could start implementing that are inherently human. Programs, executions, real human shit. Surprise and delight, knowing and doing things for people on their birthday. A, know, then B, do. And I think all those kind of things, internally, externally. Let me tell you a story. Actually, this is a fun story I haven't told in 10 years. Thank You Economy. The reason that book went viral, one story inside of it. So Twitter came out. I'm obsessed with it because people are just telling you shit. Again, for the kids in here, this is norm, but for us over 45, that's when I invested in Twitter in 2007, every person I knew made fun of me. Because literally the joke was, that has no chance. Who cares if you're walking the dog or eating a pizza? And back then, in my mind, I was like, everyone. And that's what ended up happening. Because you're all a bunch of fucking yentas, The story I used in this book is what I want to tell you where I see us doing our thing. There was this thesis I had that because people were saying things on Twitter, you could know more about them. Right? And because you knew more about them, you could do things. So I instilled my staff at Wine Library to literally look up every order of a new customer we ever got during this period where I was trying to get this case study and see if you could find them on Twitter. And it had to be Gary Vaynerchuk was a good name because it was unique. No Josh Smith, you can't be wrong, it's gotta be right. So they finally, it's going weeks and months and nothing's happening. I call my best friend runs the business at the time, so I talk to him every day. I'm like, Brandon, where's my Thank You Economy thing? And finally, I'm boarding a plane to LA and I get a phone call from Brandon. He goes, we got something. I was so pumped. I was like, tell me. He's like, you're not gonna believe this. I was like, huh? So here's what happened. A gentleman from Chicago bought a case of Pinot Grigio that was like $200, very inexpensive. I think we made like $8 on the order. I instilled and told the team to send that gentleman. They found him on Twitter, and his whole Twitter feed was, Jay Cutler, I love you. Jay Cutler, you're the best. Jay Cutler, you're going to be the best quarterback in football. This was a Chicago Bears quarterback, some of you know because he was married to Kristen, the whole nine, Jay Cutler. I tell the team to buy a $300 signed Jay Cutler jersey and send it to him in the mail and say thank you. $7 in profit, $300 surprise and delight customer thing, thinking that what would happen, because I believe it and we do this all the time in that company, that would make his affinity high for us and his LTV would be much greater. Brandon calls me, he goes, you'll never believe what happened. I'm like, the Chicago guy bought like an expensive case of wine. He goes, nope. He goes, we just got a $4,000 Burgundy order from Plano, Texas. I'm like, okay. He goes, I'm like, did the guy move? He goes, no. He goes, bear with me. I'm like, go ahead. He goes, wait till you hear this note in the customer notes field. I'm like, go ahead. He goes, hey, first of all, wine library, this is my first order. Your Burgundy prices are amazing. Do you have this Armand Rousseau, blah, blah, blah. Like all this wine talk. And then he goes, P.S. I found out about your website from my friend in Chicago who you sent a Jay Cutler jersey to. P.S.S. I'm a huge Bruce Springsteen fan. Eric, I think what can be done is we can do the things with AI that are gonna get commoditized whether we like it or not. The things that you think are gonna be eaten up by your job that you used to do. We could see that as bad or we could see that as remarkable because you can now do things with your heart and brain instead of the mundane that was eating up the time. I believe the people in this room that get remarkably epic at the tool, understanding how to do it, to free up all the time to use their heart and brain will be the biggest winners in customer experience. Hello.
Hey,
oh, how are you?
how you doing, buddy?
Oh my God, have you been?
Good.
I don't want to. Hi, Laura.
We met on Twitter.
In 2007. I haven't seen you in forever.
Oh, I love you.
How you been? Sorry, did she almost fall? Sorry about that.
Gary loves to knock people over.
Yeah. With love.
I spend a lot of time thinking about people like your dad,
Okay.
right?
Yep.
How do we bring the non-technical SMBs into AI? I convened a group in August in Boston. We had 59 restaurants represented. We're trying to tell these chefs, these owners, these operators, like, you can do this, you can do that. What would you say to that end of the market to help them get it?
I mean, this is so nostalgic.
Right, because we
Right?
did this for Twitter, but we got to do it for AI now.
I'll tell you what I'm saying, and you're seeing what's happening here, everyone. This is why, and even then when we met, I'd already lived it in 96, 7, 8 with web. Like, hey, stores and barbers, like, you need a website. They're like, I don't use a computer. Like, this is 96, 97, 98. Hey, you need social media, like, right? It's always the same game. What do I say? The same thing I said to you 16 years ago. We're not gonna do shit. The technology is gonna suffocate the society. You and I, are good at, for the last 20 years, helping some people take full advantage of the truth. But getting people that want to say no to say yes normally comes when pain hits. SMBs will be here at scale when someone else is beating up their business using AI and finally they give up. We literally just played this movie out with social. Nobody got inspired by me in stages. I mean, our crew, the entrepreneurs, but the companies, especially the big companies, they shifted when pain came. You know why Pepsi's now my enormous client? Yes, I've been chipping away at them for 15 years. But Poppy and Liquid Death woke them up real fast. And that's what's gonna happen here. Like, you're gonna do what you do because you're remarkable about it. And we do it from a good place. We're trying to be, like, bring value, historically correct. And you and I are gonna do exactly what we did for the last 20 years. We're gonna tell the truth, we're gonna tell it. You try to say different stories, different analogies, you go to different events, you hope the way you communicate, I know this about myself. For some people in this audience, I'm the perfect type of communicator. Other people are like, when's this guy done? It's different styles make different fights. We just try, but the reality is, when are they really gonna do it? Pain. Who's got the mic? The other person? Yep. You can go to this gentleman right here. Hello, sir.
Hi, nice to meet you. My name's Matt. And,
Matt, pleasure.
We're with a company called Lawfully. It's a app for tracking immigration cases. We've helped 3 million people to track their immigration cases.
Good for you.
And we are in the software business. We have our consumer business. We have our app that we built for law firms as well.
So there's a B2B and a B2C component? Understood.
We launched the B2B side last year.
Smart.
My question is, earlier we saw a demo of, I don't know if it was Anthropic, it was one of the companies building their app from the ground up in 5 hours using an AI.
That's right.
So as software becomes
commoditized,
as an entrepreneur, a futurist, what do you recommend to continue to grow market share and not lose market share?
Brand. Every smart person that was around me, and again, back to when Laura and I were coming up, like literally, you're talking about the founders of Instagram and Uber and Twitter, like having dinners with Zucks. And like a point in my career 15 years ago, I'm literally around the people that have gone on to become the wealthiest and most impactful people in our society and technology. And when I created VaynerMedia, my dream to build the biggest communication and branding company in the world, they all shit on me so heavy, right? Because it wasn't tech. It wasn't scalable. It didn't have a big multiplier. And I took those insults from very fancy people because I am very good. There's so many things I'm bad at, but one thing I'm great at is holding my breath. I understood even then, not with the clarity that this is all brought out, but I remember in marketing land, big data was the most important term 10 years ago, 6 years ago, 9 years ago, and I kept saying to everybody, I'm like, it feels quite commoditized because the IRS and Visa and Facebook and Google, like you end up with 40 different sources that have all the damn data. I hope you all know that like you have zero privacy. Meaning you have privacy, but like your information is known. All of you, promise. So it felt commoditized. And to your point, brother, it's crazy, man. You're a young dude. Like the generation before you, like tech was the moat. Tech is not the moat. And it's humbling. It's like, geez, right? Like it's intense. Like you're no bozo. Even the way you just answered that question, you're smart enough to realize, man, like if someone just thinks we're doing a good job or wants to attack us, it doesn't take a long time to get the product up to speed. There's other things that happen. But I believe we are entering the era where it's brand over everything because everything else is a commodity. And that's why I've been screaming about it. And that's why, who here by show of hands has seen Star Wars, the movies? Raise your hands. This is the best analogy I have. 15 years ago, even though I had all these opportunities to be in that Silicon Valley game, I decided that I was the marketing emperor, you know, the emperor in Star Wars, and that I needed to spend time building the Death Star. That I needed to build the biggest machine that could point at a nonprofit, a political campaign, and definitely brands and businesses, and blow it up. And that's what I've spent my time on, and I believe I'm entering the era where that work is about to get very important to everyone. Every single person here, both for their companies and their personal reputation. I know some people, I love when people are like, personal brand's such an icky term. I'm like, cool, call it reputation. I think everyone is gonna realize how important it is. So what would I think? I think you need to start taking some of the money you're making or the capital you're raising and deploy it to build a brand, to make people subconsciously think about it. And even with, you know, it's not lost on me that agents are gonna be making buying decisions and all this stuff that's coming. The one thing that will stop you or change, don't forget, you're still in charge. And you can change the milk brand you've been buying, even though your agent reorders it for you, or the car, you will still have that control. Human self-will will prevail. It will be there. Much will be passive because we don't all agree on all the same things. I want to show you something. By show of hands, how many people here really, really, really give a crap about which deodorant brand they use? Like it really matters, and who doesn't, and they could use a bunch of different ones. If you really, really give a fuck, raise your hands. Raise it high. All right, first of all, let's clap it up for these pioneers. So for everyone who did not raise their hand, our agent reordering our deodorant for us, and really our deodorant as an Internet of Things, having a chip in it and understanding when it's time to reorder it and reordering for us will become real. And that will change marketing. But for the people that raise their hands, like that's really gonna matter. But for us, it's not. And that's where this becomes interesting around everything. What airline you fly, what you do, like all of it. And it will be brand that will be the battleground, my friend, for all of us. Thank you. Oh, hey, sir, how are you?
Good. Thank you so much. It's very cool to see you in person.
Thank
I've
you.
seen you on a screen for many, many years now, and you've been a huge inspiration.
Thank you, brother.
You bring like really positive energy. It's incredible. Thank you for the impact that you have.
Thank you.
I think that some of the things that you do, just having that grind mentality, I hear you in my mind is saying from 9 to 5, and then you're 5 to 9, doing all that, getting your side hustle going. So thank you for that.
Thank you, brother.
You mentioned two things. You said how important speed is.
Yes.
And you mentioned how you are the one that's writing your Instagram copy.
Correct.
So how do you figure out, there's only 24 hours in the day.
Don't be in the middle. It's literally the theme of this talk. I don't play in the middle. I scale things that I believe are truly important, not scalable, and then I go very fast. And what I've noticed now that I've, at this point in my career, been around a lot of great executives that work for me, other executives, this is where a creative entrepreneurial type person plays it different. I basically think almost nothing matters. And everybody I interact with thinks all those things matter. And then it becomes efficiency, right? For example, I think one of the biggest issues in this room professionally, just taking a sidetrack, is everyone is in here is in way too many meetings that mean absolutely nothing for too long. So we're not and notice that reaction, right? Everyone knows that they're in many 1-hour meetings that are really a 7-minute meeting. I just have 7-minute meetings, which then allows me to find time to do the things I prioritize. And again, this will make sense, it's prioritization. There are people here who have huge ambitions, but they will not miss a dance recital or a baseball practice or a dinner with, that's amazing. That is their, other people are just as good human beings and family people. They're okay, it's their circumstances. I didn't even see my father until I was 14. He left this house before I got up, and he came home after. So for me, I wasn't crippled to miss a kid's event because I have the greatest relationship with my father, and I got nothing. So I wasn't scared to miss something. For other people, they have the greatest relationship with their father or mother. They miss nothing. They think that's the key, and so they leaned into it. And that's all allowed, and that's how I think about all of this. It's just prioritization, but it's being smart of understanding what means nothing. And I will tell you, most things mean nothing. The customer means everything. Huge mistake by so many people. The customer is everything. There is nothing else. You know what's, and there's only one thing more important than the customer. Your team. Everything else is fucking bullshit.
Thank you.
Thank you. Last question. Got it. Hello, ma'am.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm April. I'm also an immigrant, and I listened to your audiobooks ever since I was a teenager.
Thank you.
I especially loved how you motivated me right in my ear, and that really, truly got me to where I am today. Now built AI products at Salesforce. So my question is, you said that you're really good at identifying trends that are here to stay. Can you talk us through how are you doing research or asking yourself several questions to identify what juices are worth it to squeeze?
That's a great question. So one of the reasons I have a lot of good videos of being historically correct is I try not to guess. And I sit on things for a long time. So what I really do, pretty much all of my work is within social. You know, social, when Laura and I met, everybody said everything what they actually meant. Because nobody really quantified yet that everybody was watching. And I watched it from 2007, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, start to bleed a little bit. And now, it's not lost to anyone what's happened over the last 8 to 10 years, politics, this, that. It's different. And yet, there's no source of truth in our society even remotely close to social. I keep laughing at politicians. Everyone's stunned. There's a shocker in this mayor election or president election or governor election. I'm like, not if you live on the internet. If you watch fucking Fox News and CNN and read the Times and the Post, you're stunned. But real life is on social. So what do? I live in feeds. Here's an example. One of my biggest pet peeves is when people in this room and this world blame the algorithm. It is the great cop-out and non-accountability of human society. I'm going to say this very feverishly. The algorithm is you. If you think China or Zucks or Kamala or Trump or the left or the right or somebody else is feeding you, you're a fucking idiot. Let me teach you in one day how I can prove that to you. When you leave here, whatever social network of choice you have, and by the way, this is dangerous waters I'm walking on, because people are very collectively, it's not lost on me that 90% of the people right now have the opposite take. But I'm gonna show you how right I am. I'm going to ask you to leave this talk, walk out there, go into Instagram or TikTok, because I know that's platforms of choice, but you can use any one you want, and go to the search function. I want you to search rainbows and hit enter. When rainbows show up in search, I'd like you to like 3 of them. I'd like you to go back to search. I'd like you to search puppies. I'm being dead serious right now. I need you to like 3 or 4 of the puppy posts, and I'd like you to comment on one of the puppy posts. I want you to then go back to search. I would like you to type in GaryVee. I would like you to like and comment on a couple of them. And 6 to 7 other random things. I would like you to then close your app, and I would like you to DM me tomorrow of what your feed looks like in the morning. My friends, the algorithms have exposed you. They haven't changed you. And so what I do is I watch culture, and I search lots of different things, and I'm trying to figure out what's cool, what's not. I look at every data set, top podcasts, fastest growing influencers. I just read social at scale every moment I have and can. And then when something strikes my fancy, I start to think. I used to think on flights and showers. Now I think with AI. It speeds up my observation, gets me deeper. I was a DNF student, but I got A's and B's in history. So I use history to tell me the future. And then I really battle test my theses. I'll give you one right now. This might be a good side gig for some of you. Live social shopping. So the QVC-ification of social media. TikTok shop, like in your feed on TikTok, people are live and selling stuff. Whatnot, if you know what that app is, if you're into sports cards and comic books. The QVC-ification of social media will be one of the biggest industries in our country over the next decade. Everyone here can start a side hustle and sell beanies and a coat, sneakers, literally have a garage sale of the stuff in your house and download Whatnot or TikTok shop and start selling stuff. It is massive. I watched China do it for 7 or 8 years. Then I watched Whatnot and TikTok shop for a year. Then I did it for my VFriends thing and stuff of that nature. Then I started making videos. It's funny, I'm chaotic, high energy, like I have my energy. So I get that people might think I'm loose or I'm fun. Ironically, I'm fucking measure 30 times, cut once, because I don't want to be wrong. My currency is being right, but I'm fast. Right? When I saw one Labubu 11 months ago, I'm like, this is some Beanie Baby shit, right? I studied. And so that's what I do. Thank you for having me. Have a great night. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.